I'm going to welcome everyone to the May Culver Redevelopment Commission meeting. If you would please join me in putting your cell phones on silent and know that your participation in this meeting is welcome. But by participating, you are giving us permission to rebroadcast your participation of this meeting as part of the broadcast of this meeting on the town's YouTube channel. Okay, let's go to the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, our secretary is unable to be with us this evening. Do we have a emergency auxiliary backup secretary? Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Sarah. Would you mind doing roll call for us?
Yes. Mr. Siler.
Here.
Collins here. Oosterbaan.
Here.
Collins absent are Ms. Ricciardi.
And Ms.
Shuman. Dr. Shuman.
Yeah. Dr. Shuman probably will join us in progress. My guess. Next on the agenda is approval from the minutes of the April 16th meeting. We did get those in advance of the meeting. Get an opportunity to take a look at them.
Briefly.
Any amendments? If not, I'll call for a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
All right, thank you, Jerry. A second.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor of approving the minutes from April 16th meeting as proposed by Secretary Munroe, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, any opposed? So the April financial reports, relatively quick one. We have basically broke even that month. I don't have the report in front of me, but just going by memory, we had 5,000 in revenue and we had about 4,000 in expenses, all related to the Plein Air event. No, not the Plein Air event. What was it was 3,700.
It was advertisement and I believe reimbursement for Façade
Grant.
Mhm. This month is Plein Air.
Yeah, this month claim is for the.
Yeah, it was Arthur Holt's Façade grant and then $100 was your side.
Sure, I'm properly describing what it is.
Do you want me to let you know? I mean, I have it in front of me if that helps.
Yes, if you could just, I know the revenue is the interest income and the.
$4,972.10 and the expenses were $3,733.17.
Okay, and that related to things we approved last month.
Right, and so your ending balance for both TIFs is $1,544,271.72.
Right, and 62,000 spent year to date, if I recall properly, all of it in the permissible expenses. All the other categories in our spending plan remain untouched, and we've got 150,000 roughly in committed expenses that haven't been paid yet. Fair enough, Karen?
Very accurate, and I'm impressed with your memory.
I didn't read it that long ago, so, so the short-term memory is holding. All right, so any questions, any discussion around the financials? If not, I will ask for a motion to approve the April financial report.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Moved by Mr. Siler. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Jones. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, our April financials are approved, and now we've got claims. We have one claim, which is the Plein Air event, $2,500 from the visitor center. This was presented last meeting by Tracy Gordon. I think we had some follow-up questions for how much goes for the event, how much for the advertising in the Plein Air magazine. I think it was $550 for the event, and the balance was for the advertising in the Plein Air magazine. $2,500, same as last year. Any questions, discussion about that? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve that expense.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Siler. Second.
Second.
All right, seconded by Ms. Jones. All in favor of, and Dr. Shuman arrives. Karen, all in favor of approving the claims for April, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the claims are approved. Old business, Main Street renovation project, that's a standing agenda item. We're in a little bit of a quiet period for that with the study going on. There is some follow-up questions that I nudged the retail strategies on today, actually, on the data that they were using for number of students. We figured we wanted to clarify that. You haven't gotten that clarification yet, I didn't think, right? So let's pursue that. I also asked about the data involving the part-time residents, which is the next phase of the study, when we might expect to see that. And so those questions are outstanding. I'll share the answers with you as I get them. Do you have, I'm sure you got more on what's going on Main Street. I don't know what's to share or not at this point.
Yeah, it's ongoing, and you're right. We're kind of in a lull till they give us the action plan, and they're going to come back with where we had the 10-minute kind of radius outlook in terms of our market. I think they're going to extend that out to probably that I would call regional market, 200-mile kind of, and see where we're at. Demographically, I'm impressed with their data collection, so I'm really looking forward to it. I'm glad Marty put it back on a nudge. I'm eager to see that data. But in the interim, I've been going back and spending some time with the survey. And I'm encouraged by the responses, because if it's all ice cream and cherries, you got to wonder, wait a minute, no, what we're getting is individual perspective, and it's variable. And I think that's interesting how you experience. What I'm understanding is people experience Culver in very different ways, and they have different outlooks. And I think it's shaped by why they're here, their reason to be. And I think in some ways it's daunting, because I think it's a difficult task. But at the same time, I think it's kind of exciting, because they're not quiet voices. You don't know what you don't know, and hearing it and looking at it, I'm trying to understand their perspectives. So I think we got work ahead of us, but I'm encouraged. And the fact that they keep talking about simple action, I think, is encouraging. I think we begin there and to move up. But again, until we get that data, I think it's hard to move forward. And that data is going to inform a lot of other decisions. I'm starting to see a lot of overlap in how important this retail strategies is, both not only from an infrastructure. I'm trying to understand the relationship of the dunes and the changes there along Jefferson Street, some of the changes and some of the things we're talking about connecting there. There's a lot of decisions to be made, and I think this data is going to be important.
One person did ask me about, does the data include like people that use Amazon for their retail sales? Is that included in that 10-mile radius? Like, is Amazon included?
You mean their shopping habits on Amazon?
Yeah. Was that?
No, I think that question was actually asked, and they're tracking for leakage and whatnot. Yes.
Leakage, that was.
But I'm not sure I ever heard anything specific to Amazon, what they're buying. That's an actually interesting question, Karen.
I think she said that there would be data in that very first presentation she had.
It may have.
I wasn't on the first.
And I don't want to.
At that one, she mentioned that they'd be able to track like the online, not specifically Amazon, but like their online purchasing.
Okay, because that wasn't shared as an online data point. Like
Well,
that.
and I didn't see it in the past. So I let me say this. Great question. Let me follow up and get a right proper answer, because I'm just going off of memory, and I don't have Marty's memory. Theme for the night.
Too.
But that's an interesting question, because I don't know if we change those habits, but we at least know what they're.
If you can get it in
shopping
2
for.
hours instead of 24 hours, maybe.
Maybe. Okay. There was another thought. I missed it. Coming back to, well, we'll get to that later, I think. So yeah, that's kind of my update on that. like I said, quiet, but it's given me time to pause and read through some things. on
And
the
then,
survey.
I did go over the responses to 145 responses now we're up to with that, and they are all over the map and they are really interesting.
They
You
are.
know, and I'm curious as to how Retail Strategies is going to advise us relative to that data, because it is here and it is here with respect to the responses on, you know, what type of goods and services should be offered on Main Street.
The description of Main Street in 3 words.
That's
Because I like that.
fascinating in and
That's
of
the main
itself,
one that
yeah.
I like, because
Yeah.
you can do a lot of sentences. Give me 3 words. And that was interesting. So
Yeah.
anyway.
All right. Any further discussion
No,
on this
sir.
topic?
Are those survey results gonna be public at all?
Yes, I
Yes, they
think
are.
they are.
Yeah.
Since we paid for them, I think they have to be, but,
Not
I
yet.
think
but
they,
will.
no, they come to us in a package, I understand.
Okay.
any thoughts on Main Street from our friends here joining us tonight? All right, then we'll move right along to new business. Justin is here. We haven't seen him in a while. Good to see you.
Been hiding.
Justin Croy,
Thanks.
present on Lake Fest. Thank you.
Thank you. Don't ask me where I printed that at. Thank you. Thank you. So obviously, thank you for having me. It's funny to be on this side. Normally, last year I had it's on the other side of the table, so our officers helped me out and took care of this part. So this is actually my first time, but we're excited. We've had a long off season for the Lake Fest. And we have gotten quite a few changes and new things in order over the past 9 months. And this year's festival, like normal, will take place the 3rd weekend of July, 17th through the 19th. Our theme this year is always on duty. We're honoring our local police, fire, and EMS. So the 3 town departments and the school SRO department. New this year, the reason our off season's been so long is because we set out to form a new entity. And that process took a much longer period of time than we expected. And so we've really had to play catch up. And we originally set out to start a 501c so that our donors could, take advantage of those tax benefits. Sean Cerisi did some pro bono work for us. And he came back to us and said, the IRS doesn't allow festivals to be a 501c3. They have to be a 501c4. There's not enough charitable cause there. And so obviously went ahead with the 501c4 and got the new entity set up. Still waiting on our final approval, but we're clear to do all of the activities that we need to do. The other reason for that was we wanted to absolve ourselves of any liability from past leadership. Everybody here knows Andrea Canachi. When she took over, there was no Lake Fest committee. And she was at the visitor center at the time, and she took it over, and it basically became a visitor center event. And then there was some difference in who's financing the event, right? So it was easier in her position to run the event from the visitor center side. And so accounting and record keeping kind of went that way. And now we're, the last 2 years we've been back separate from the visitor center. And so it was easier to just start on a clean slate than it was to try to go back and figure out how much of that money was Lake Fest, how much of that money was visitor center, and so on. So, of course, with that came new bylaws. As I said, about 5 or 6 years ago, there was a Lake Fest committee of 0. And so the bylaws the last few years have not reflected, how we've done business. When we have 4 people show up to meetings, it's hard to, have committees and a body of membership and so on. So wrote new bylaws that better reflect how we do business and give our officers that decision-making power. New thing again this year is an online donor portal. So we have basically opened a Square account and can take funds online. And that's actually been really good for us so far. We have in just a few weeks here, $1,000-something has come through online. So previous to this, we were sending a bunch of mail and hoping people would, stamp their own envelope and send it back to us. And so this year going into trying to modernize that a little bit where people can just get online and give. New website, adopted digital registration worldwide. I've adopted a partnered events agreement so that we can make sure that all of our events are kind of working toward the same cause and we're not biting the hand that feeds us and things. And then we have a Miss Max format is different this year. Previously, we would always pick Miss Max at the festival. This year, we're going to pick Miss Max the first week in June. And she's going to serve as a representative of the festival for 365 days, including she's got a list that we've put together of events she has to go to, things she has to do throughout the community to represent not only the Lake Fest, but the community in general. And so that's going to be an interesting format. We have more participants this year with the new format than we did last year. So this is only in the senior division. The little kids will be as normal. And so I think we had 3 girls sign up this year. So those are some of our new things. What to expect in 2026, the same, the standard festival. We're going to have the same, food, craft vendor stuff that Lake Fest has become known for. Those traditional events, parade, fireworks, car show, and all the others. I don't believe we have lost any events this year. We've added 3. This year, the Fireman's Fest, as I'm sure everybody knows, is going to be held during Lake Fest weekend. So the Saturday of Lake Fest will be both Lake Fest and Fireman's Fest. And I've communicated with Chad a little bit about this nice fancy safety plan that we're going to have to put together to have all those people crossing Main Street from 4 to 8 p.m. We're going to have an honor ceremony honoring our police, fire, and EMS. And then we have a group that reached out to us to do a canoe race. So that's going to be fun. Just a little bit of where we are financially. These are very general numbers. And what I did is I took the numbers that we reported and then I added what CRC gave us last year. So last year's festival came out to be a total of about $65,000. And that was a 3% increase from the cost of the festival in 2024. And had CRC not helped us last year, we would have lost about $7,500. Now, just so everybody knows, when I took over Lake Fest, we had like $200 in our account. We've done a little bit better, but Lake Fest is an event that breaks even practically every year. We have worked very hard to try to be as efficient as possible in our spending, including what can we cut, what, is there a cheaper option available without sacrificing quality and so on and so forth. And so thank goodness for CRC because we would have had a rough year. This year, 2026, confirmed 13% increase in our fireworks cost. I added another general increase of 3% on pattern with the year before. So this year we're looking at about $10,000 more estimated to fund the festival. And so whether or not that holds true, we'll see on July 19th. But until then, that's kind of the base that we're going off of if things keep trending the way they're trending with about a 3% increase. And then our fireworks vendor did tell us at the end of last year, they gave us a notice that, hey, this is going to go up in cost. And so that is just the cost for them to light off the fireworks. There's some additional costs in there as well with they supply the barges, but we have to supply people to tow the barges, a boat for them to launch off of, and some other logistical things that as much as I love fireworks, make Lake Fest fireworks a nightmare. So the next page is just what Lake Fest does for Culver. I don't think there's an accurate way to get a report of exactly how many people come to the town. In past, we've had reports that about an estimated 15,000 people pass through the festival. Now, whether those same people are counted 3 days in a row or at the times they took that survey, that's from a while ago. That's the estimated number. And as you can see there, I think Lake Fest weekend in Culver is probably our busiest weekend, most people at one time. I don't know, we have not gone as far as to ask businesses, does this help you? Is this something that, are you making more money from this? Because I know from my own experience, I avoid Plymouth during the Blueberry Festival rather than go to Plymouth during the Blueberry Festival. So I'm sure there are other people that maybe are in that same boat in Culver. The biggest one and the last one, it gives Culver that regional exposure of our festival, and the people that have come before me have done a great job of making sure that they put on a quality festival. So obviously this year we are asking for CRC's support to help us in any way they can help take that financial burden off of a volunteer driven organization. This year we were big in supporting the long-term sustainability of Lake Fest. That was the purpose. When I took over, I had a list of about 10 things I wanted to do with Lake Fest. And after about 3 weeks, I realized that none of those 10 things were probably going to be possible. The major attractions and entertainment, we didn't either have the infrastructure for, or the cost was so astronomically high that those things weren't going to happen. And so I decided that my impact on Lake Fest was going to be about longevity for the next 42 years. And this was step one to that. So any way that CRC can assist in offsetting those rising operational costs and infrastructure cost is appreciated by us. I know that there's things we can do and things we can't do. And so the best way that we can go about it, we would 100% appreciate your support. So my contact information is there if anybody has any questions. And if you have questions now, I'll be happy to answer.
We gave last year. Remember? 10,000. So last year would have had a $7,500 loss without the 10,000. And you're saying it's going to be approximately 10,000 more this year. Do you anticipate the income being higher this year? Because otherwise we're looking at like $17,500 loss without anything from us.
Right. Was 10? I thought we were higher than 10. I think I based that off of 20.
I think the town may have contributed as well.
I have 10,000 to the Mad Bomber.
Okay.
I don't show anything paid to Lake Fest.
Those advertising expenses, pilot news.
That's what I
I
thought
think
we
that
felt
usually
could contribute.
falls into with the visitor center. So I'll go digging and see where the commitment was.
To answer your question, I think it was, I put CRC, whether or not it was CRC in the town. I believe it was around 20. And so that's where those numbers came from. I based that math roughly off of 20,000. And so with that, I think we work on a reimburse basis. So we are on basically a budget, if I'm not mistaken. That's the way it's been explained to me from the past, is that, we don't want you to go spend an astronomical amount of money. And so if we come in under that, obviously there's nothing, it's not like Lake Fest is keeping that in our pocket. Those are just things that offset. So I based that off of 20,000. And we were able to earn about, I think, $3,000 difference in our expenses last year versus what we took in. And the numbers were what, 45 and 48. So our income comes from we're 100% donation and sponsorship driven. As much as I wish I could report that we have a big giant equitable fund, we don't. So it becomes more and more difficult every year to get people to to give. And obviously as the world turns and economies are up and down, those things happen. And so, yeah, Lake Fest in general would not have made a penny last year if it wouldn't have been, we would have been quite a ways in the hole, because we would have raised enough money to cover what we had to spend.
You had a substantial donation historically relative to the fireworks. Do you expect to get that again this year?
As of right now, no. Last year, we had to cross our fingers and wish it came in. And at the last minute, some donor strings were pulled with people that from this organization in town knew somebody of this organization in town, and that eventually came in. I think it came in for $5,000, which for Lake Fest is substantial. I have heard no contact was given. So Lake Fest never had contact with the donor.
Okay.
Other people had contact with the donor. And so we don't have a way to reach back out other than going through those avenues. The people that did that for us are no longer involved in Lake Fest. So it makes it even more difficult to start from scratch there.
Thank you, Justin. Talk about the fundraising that takes place for the local organizations, the schools,
Yeah.
the athletic teams.
Yeah, and this, Andrea Canacci did a great job running Lake Fest before I took over. And one of the things that she did that year that Lake Fest almost didn't happen was we have to have events, and there's not enough volunteers to run events. And Lake Fest can't do it all by ourselves. So she started partnering with local organizations. I think the first year we had 5 or 6 teams at the school, clubs, teams, sports. Right now we are down to, I believe, 3 or 4. And we offer the fundraising opportunities for those groups. So our athletic boosters, our football team, our swim team, those groups run events for us and are able to profit off of those events through registration, through donor solicitation, and so on. And so we've kind of expanded that a little bit, not just to the school groups, but we offer Marshall Stark Special Olympics the opportunity as well. They run our free throw contest and they get the registration fees from that. Lake Fest runs about 4 things because our group's so small. So parade, car show, Miss Max, and fireworks are our 4 events. The car show is the only one that makes money, and believe it or not, it's our biggest money maker of Lake Fest. And that's when it doesn't rain. So last year, it lost money because we had the awards and trophies and things ready, and it rained. So back to Marty's point, we do offer groups a lot of opportunity to come and run an event and make money for their organization. The evolution of sports teams with coaching changes, and like volleyball had been a big participator for us, and all of their upperclassmen graduated, and they always drove the golf carts, right? The Uber golf carts. They had all underclassmen and nobody had a license, so they didn't have the group to be able to do it. And so that type of evolving happens, and so we've lost a couple of those groups participating in baseball coaching changes and so on and so forth. Those things, different groups have taken over events, but we still offer those opportunities. And like I said, we have about 4 or 5 groups that we work with to try to help to support as well.
Justin, you mentioned the fireworks increase. How long is your contract with? Is it yearly?
Yeah.
Is there anybody, I mean, have you shopped around? I'm not to insult. I just
No.
wonder if that's kind of the standard price, if that's.
So shopped around versus research. Research wise, that is a fairly good price for a fireworks show of the quality that we're getting. Everybody knows that I'm the fireworks guy in town on the 4th of July. So talking with some of those groups that we get our consumer fireworks from, that is a very good price. And I know Plymouth Speedway. They do fireworks up there. It costs them 3/4 of that for one night, half the time. Obviously ours are one night, 20 minutes. But as far as research versus shopping around, no, I have not called any other companies and said, how much would you charge to do this? And the reason that I have not done that is because of the logistical side that we have figured out. Mad Bombers does supply the barges to shoot the fireworks off of, so we would have to find a fireworks company that has a barge, or we would have to, produce our own or have one of the local places do it.
Yeah, it's a kind of a specialty thing.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I'm trying to remember last year, because didn't Tracy bring it last year and there was a shortage, so they needed.
I think you're right. That's kind of what I'm remembering.
For the fire, yeah, that's exactly right.
Did we do it in, were they here, somebody here twice? Was Tracy here twice last year?
I think Andrea may have come once and Tracy came.
Okay.
I thought we gave like an amount, and then if there was still gonna be a shortage, if they didn't get the donation,
That sounds right.
we were gonna give more,
That-
or consider giving more,
Yeah.
I think.
Because we traditionally funded the printing.
Yes. And that's, I skipped over a slide. On the second to last slide was the traditional support of the printing, advertising, things that we were able to use CRC funds for.
Yeah. So we'll have to do some research. On this, maybe even have a brief work session on it. One more question before we get there, though. Putting the budget aside just for a minute. Now, you've been involved in this for a little while, and I really appreciate all the work that you're doing. What would you do if you had money? What would you do differently than you're doing today? What can this festival be?
I think there's two things that I think would dynamically change the festival: increased dining options, food options, and attraction. So whether that be major named entertainment, and I'm not talking top level, but somebody in that second to third tier, or the addition of family rides. And that is, I think those two things would change the festival drastically. Neither one of those things are able to be done with the current infrastructure that we have in the park. We're already just about maxed out with the electric that we can draw. So a major, entertainer with a huge sound system, and it would be difficult. But there's also the logistical side of where they're going to fit in the park, right?
We talked about putting a stage on the water in the past.
Yeah.
And those things become, like I said, I started with a list that was really big, and then about 3 weeks in, I went, I don't have enough power to do that, don't have enough space to do that. And so
Right. Yeah.
we thought about expanding to try to get rid of some of those obstacles, move things here and there, rides in a different part of town, but then the electricity that would come along with that, the bill that would come along with that is not something that Lake Fest, I mean, we're begging to get by, let alone pay another $20,000 electric bill to have 15 rides running all weekend. So, but to answer your question, I think those two things would be the biggest: increased food options and form of entertainment that's other than a live band. So that is either rides or marquee entertainment, I'll call it.
Okay.
You talked about a drone show at one time.
Yes. So the drone show last year came out to be $1,200 cheaper than the fireworks show. But then we faced the logistics of where do we launch it from? And we did not have the ability or contact to find somewhere to launch the drone show from. And so ultimately the group made the decision to do fireworks versus that drone show. Personally, I brought it up again this year. What are we going to, do we want fireworks? Do we want a drone show? our backs were against the wall as far as time because of our shortened season. I voted against the fireworks, and I voted in favor of the drone show. Rest of our group voted for fireworks. So I lost that one, but personally, I think we could be, things could be changed with a drone show. We would definitely need the town's help with that as far as finding a place to launch 1,000 drones from. So
How close do you need to be?
that was the thing.
I got a place.
I'll have to let you know. I still have the proposal.
I'm already smiling, but I'm thinking the old airport out at the academy.
Yeah, that's actually really close. Because I think it was something like either 500 to 1,000 feet from where we want the show to be performed. It wasn't very far because they don't have the battery capacity.
That's further than that. But the academy airport, you're right, Gary.
That's off the top of my head. I'll have to send you.
But the big parade yard isn't, but anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
So,
Perhaps you're in the middle of fundraising. We've got some work to do
Yeah.
on our, and so maybe we could see you next month.
Yeah.
And finalize the contribution
Absolutely. We appreciate it.
required for a successful event.
in the meantime, with your permission, if I do come across some different individuals that I know might be interested, with your permission, I'll pass along that you're looking.
Yes,
And,
absolutely.
make connections.
Yep.
All right.
And our website there, lakefestculver.com, people can find out more information about not just how to give, but what sponsorships we offer and so on and so forth. So
Great. Thanks, Justin.
Do you have a committee roster or names of people that?
Yep. So our Justin Croy, president, Kelly Harris, vice president, Tracy Gordon, treasurer. And then we have officially, our body consists of Kevin Dante, who's an at-large member, Dana Neer, at-large member, Steve Ulrey, at-large member, Hannah Croy, committee chair, Bill Burke, committee chair. And that is the extent of the Lake Fest volunteers. So Hannah runs Miss Max and Bill runs the car show. Outside of that, we're
I'm a pure figurehead.
open to volunteers.
Right, okay, great. Great, maybe we can help on that score too.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Justin.
Thank you, guys.
Town manager update, Mr. Dante, you're up.
Hey, all right. Keep it short and sweet, but exciting things. With the Ready Grant, we're looking at a July. We should know more. But more importantly, we've had a couple conversations with the theater group, the Max and Kentucky Performing Theater Arts, or the Arts Theater, Foundation. And we're moving, the council approved tentatively the letter of intent for the donation of the 20-foot that the fire department graciously conceded to expand the theater. The council would like to know a tear down date when it's going to start. And we were really encouraged during our conversation with Max Kentucky. They are looking to, they've named their contractor. They are currently going through the permitting, getting everything logistically worked out. And last time I had spoken with them, they were hopeful for June to get moving. And I think it's going to be a relatively quick tear down. Let us all cross our fingers. And I think you will hear the who's of Whoville gleefully singing around that theater conference. But anyway, I digress. They were encouraging conversations. I do want to be mindful, and I am going to make them mindful that we get busy in July. And
Lake Fest.
yeah, and I really am encouraging a June tear down. It's been a labor of love, but we've got a solid partnership started. And along with the Ready Grant and some of the planning, right off of what Justin was saying, creating that space with retail strategies, everything we get back, that's the community space. There's a love for Main Street. There's a lot of things going on there. But when we say community space, I think we go to the park and creating those venues for opportunity, for tourism, for entertainment. That I think I appreciated what you said today because it echoes what we put in the Ready Grant. I'll update as we move forward, but I'm hopeful. Once the theater comes down, I think it's a signal that we're moving. And they're designing currently, they're doing their survey. They're hopeful to finish their survey input by the end of June. And it's really going to kind of help shape a dialogue about what that area can be, the theater design, and need-based. So I'm hopeful and eager to hear back what they found. Some other updates quickly. Water plant. Thank you, Jerry, for your deal. We put the aerator, the service pumps. We flipped the switch on Monday. Is that correct? Yeah. And things are going great. Moving on, and Jerry's got a little bit of cleanup work to do with them, but other than that, we're good. Wastewater, we named our engineer design firm with CHA. Mark Sullivan, who's been experienced with the community. We sent the contract signed to him. I'm waiting on their legal to get it back to us. That will begin a conversation that will likely lead into Karen's active participation with the bonding and the financial commitment that we secured with the spending plan. Moving forward, the amounts that were being discussed during the interview process are right on target. One of the things that, and Ginny Munroe was kind enough to reach out with an expert in this area, but build, operate, transfer model, you can secure a hard price. And I kind of like that model. We're pursuing it, and Karen and I will probably be having conversations with individuals as well as the council and you about how we move forward financing, but we're looking strong. Retail strategies we covered, and I was approached about the end of Jefferson Street. I've received a couple phone calls to Bozeman property, and if you notice on Facebook some of those wonderful AI images of what that can be, I think are interesting. They're very active in pursuing the development of that property. There was a direct question asked to me, would the town be interested in being the driving force behind that? My answer was that we encourage relationships with private investment and support those in any way we can. And if there's something the town can do along those lines, and the gentleman that called was very interested in that, I said, those are always conversations for the future. But I do like what he's thinking about out there, and he's being mindful of some of the needs, I think, at least identified. And I think there's a little bit of a cautionary story here. We love some of the ideas and development, but I think the conversation will help early, because I think they have to fold in the overall development, or at least consider the overall development strategy of the town. One of the things we're trying to increase is inner side development on Main Street, Lakeshore, and along Jefferson, obviously. But foot traffic, we want to draw in and not necessarily always out. So there's a strategy thing going on here, but some of the early suggestions wouldn't necessarily impact that as much as one would think. So, but look forward to those conversations. They're forthcoming. I would imagine by the end of the summer, we may be getting into that the way it sounded on my conversation initially with this gentleman. So that's an update from me. Any questions or?
We learned on the Ready grants, there were 34
Thanks, Marty.
applications from Marshall County that were put in for the arts and culture Ready grants.
17 or 18%, Marty?
34 within the county. That was, 18%.
Yeah, of the region.
Of the region. And we're 10% of the population. So we're punching above our weight, I guess, as far as, and the applications were quality applications. There's 250 to
It was a competitive
applications in the
yeah.
state. I don't know, Kevin, maybe you might know. There's,
It was pretty close, that number.
yeah. So there, and there's a request, it's unsurprisingly requesting more money than is available. Right, so
No way.
So it's going to be a competitive.
Yeah, the
process.
rank was interesting too. It went from 3,000 to 19 million
Yeah.
on the request. So yeah, a little bit of.
Well, it's downstate now.
Yeah.
What the process was a little unclear, and it still is a little unclear. But they did promise a July answer. Exactly how that is answer is being developed is a little unclear.
They're
But
gonna
the
let
date
us
is
know.
very clear.
Before they invite you down to state, or before you go down to state, they're gonna let you know if you, if you have a date. They're gonna let you know.
Yeah.
So we should be hopefully hearing, but one of the things I found interesting was, during one Marshall County meeting, just Matthew Selmer, who's very well versed and has a good understanding of it. It was interesting to hear his perspective that the arts and culture as downtown development, right? That there's a, not a, it's the right word, friction maybe, or with arts, culture, community, that they're not an instrument of some other purpose, but rather their own, you know, and I found that to be interesting.
Yeah, you talked about it as arts and culture being like people viewing it as the decoration on top of
Thank you,
downtown
Marty.
development
That's what-
as opposed to being an integrated economic driver associated with the downtown development.
I felt like what Culver put together tried to make that case for performing arts venues and as for tourism. And I was hoping we linked that together. So we'll see. Now I'm done.
All right, great. Okay, any questions for Kevin? Any further discussion? Once, twice, three times, public input then?
I do actually have a question for Kevin.
Yeah, please.
What do we do in the event that they don't have that meet the June tear down date? Or,
They being the theater group.
Yeah.
At this point, I think that's a difficult question, but what I'm finding is a cooperation and a partnership. So that becomes conversational. And that's where we are. If I think we'd be honest and direct with our conversation, so there's no misunderstandings, and no misinterpretation. And maybe as we approach that date more, those become more direct conversations, Justin. But at this point, I'm very hopeful and everything seems to be checkbox, right? And I do understand doing it right, doing the prep work, and the contractor that won the bid said he could have it down tomorrow. So I'm confident in his abilities. And I think that now that they've established the relationship to the building next door, that it will be a quick movement. But to be determined.
But what you need to make sure of is that that parking lot is available next to it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that there's
Yes.
no demolition taking place during Lake
Because
Fest.
that's where the firemen's stuff.
That's-
that's Fireman's Fest, and then you said, are we gonna have, equipment parked on? Lake
No.
Shore Drive during that time?
So you can't have either of those things, and I think that's understood.
And that's why, let me be clear. If I'm not convinced that this thing's going down before Lake Fest, we will postpone the tear down until after. That's a logistical concern, and I'm not going to create a situation for a lot of people. That's a reasonable request. And so prior to tear down, I need a time frame, and we got to hold them to it.
We just put all the fire.
And that's,
We'll put the fireworks inside the building.
and you'll have your drone launching place in no time. Now, I was about ready to make a joke. I'm going to hold back on
All
that.
right,
Yeah,
that's really fun.
Wasn't that a Little House on the Prairie episode?
it was.
It definitely was a Walker, Texas Ranger episode.
I mean, I wouldn't say that out loud. Anyway.
Okay, member input. Jerry. Sarah, by me, Karen.
Nope, all good.
Haven't had to say, Karen.
You have
Yes.
the overlapping taxing unit.
Oh,
to
yes.
approve so that I can make sure that you're
Local tax.
you're taken care of.
Let's have that discussion
Yes,
as a group. My own view of it, this is where it has to annually certify to the other taxing bodies that we do not have valuation in excess of our financing needs. You were all part of the spending plan. You see that we're running a large credit balance right now. But you also know that we have a downtown redevelopment and also a planned park project, which will be likely to use up all of that and some more. So to me, there is no question but that valuation is properly reserved for those projects and that we shouldn't pass along that valuation to any of the other taxing bodies. If you don't have any objection or disagreement with that position, then I'm going to go ahead and sign the letter that says that.
I agree, because if these things all fall into place like we hope they do, we're gonna need that.
If we find ourselves a year from now just sitting on that and we're not gaining any ground, then I think we might have a discussion, but I think right now we're good. So I'll sign it.
Could you maybe just make a motion so that it shows in the minutes that
I'm looking for a motion to authorize me to sign that letter.
I'll move.
Notifying that we have made a determination concerning the tax allocations and that there is no excess assessed value.
Jenny, listen to that. She does that in the minutes.
I'll send you the transcript?
Yes, I moved that. We authorize
Wonderful.
Marty to sign that.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Jerry. And all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Good.
Yep, if you sign that, I will get those sent out next week.
As we're speaking. Anything else, Karen?
That is all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Then there's only one thing left on the agenda, and that is to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
I'll say a second, all in favor. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.